Going into chapter 1, I picked 5 of these projects to apply to the science assignment, and we're going to come back afterwards and do the optional add information, look at additional techniques that we could do, and I will go through the all 18. Keep in mind that the previous playlist back 2018, 2019, and that range had previous versions of SolidWorks, but used a lot of the same exercises figures. So we're going to be looking at figure P1-3. I'll fly that out of the way. And I'm not using the welcome screen a little bit more. I still have a tendency to just jump either into the advanced or come up to new. Again, if you see something that says the default, we want to be, that didn't shift. So let's go ahead and grab a part inch. We are going to be looking, at least trying to. The other indicators that this is in inches are, chances are that's not a metric format in the dimensioning. So we start seeing really big numbers, or assuming that these are really small parts if we go that route. So getting back to, there it is, the novice. So that didn't show up on the first, but if you're in novice mode, these are going to the defaults. These are not going to show the part inch and the part metric that we made earlier. And we want those because I want to see the blue origin. I want to see the stuff that I add to the heads-up display, and whether it is applied to the system or it's applied to that part template. I would really like for it to come up. So these are going to be fairly straightforward videos where we're going to look at the geometry and pretty much pick a corner. We want to pretty much just trace this outline, add some dimensions, and then we'll come back and put the holes in. So quickest way to start and get a feel for the geometry, I'm going to stay with the front plane and sketch. Tells it exactly where I want. Again, I changed my selection color to magenta. Shows up a little bit better in the videos, in my opinion. So if we go into line and we just start sketching, I'm looking for those little yellow boxes to pop up that are going to tell me they're horizontal. So to begin with, we want to go kind of slow. The inference lines here are showing me where the yellow is showing me where horizontal and vertical is. There's no other geometry for it to infer to. Right? And then we'll go back to vertical. And if I'm off of vertical, as I move around, we're going to get that little snap. And as you get closer to it, it makes the jump. And it doesn't really matter. We're just going to click through this. I'm doing the click method. And when it closes off, we're going to be able to see that shaded sketch contour region is going to go gray for us. So one thing that does pop out is I want to check and make sure that that moves together. There's just a little bit of thickness, and it might be my display. So we want to go in and pick dimensions. So this time I'll go to the command manager. Most of the time I would use the right button. So our height, the very first dimension that we put in, kind of scales everything. All right. And then we have a 2-inch across the top. I don't have to put in the 0 zeros. As long as I don't click in that box, it should be ready to receive the geometry. So 0.5. And we'll just kind of drag out here and place these where they make the most sense. Now notice this inverted on itself got a little weird. So we will go make that correction here in a second. So 1.5. If I keep adding dimensions, I may be able to do it with the dimensions, but I can always drag it back the other way. So 2.5 comes back. It shows us the selection. We'll go to 3.5. All right, and then I'm kind of out of dimensions in this case. So to start off with, kind of the natural tendency is to want to do the dimensions. As we proceed, I'm going to say the tendency is going to be to add the relations, but you got to get familiar with the relations. And we did coincident, we did horizontal, we did vertical. This isn't parallel to anything. And what is keeping it from going fully defined is my two blue lines that can move up and down. So this is where I'm going to do the select control select. I'm going to select the first line, hold down the control button on the keyboard, select the second line, and we're going to get the pop-ups. Pop-ups are going to be the fastest, and that tooltip of make horizontal, probably not, they're already horizontal. Make vertical, definitely not. Collinear is a good one. So depending on what we selected, selecting the two lines, that's going to be collinear. So we're going to stay with that one, and it goes fully defined. When we do the optional, I'll run through the other groupings. We have two other combinations that we can put, but let's just focus on getting our geometry made for this part, and then we'll go look at some other items. All right, so I slipped into automatic mode, circle, and we are looking for um, a location. Now the blue lines here are showing that I'm horizontal to the center of the other circle, which I want, and I'm vertical, but because the boxes are showing up in white, horizontal, vertical, I'm not going to get any relations automatically applied. So right click and select or escape will get me out of the command. I'm going to do a select and hold down the control button, select, and then these are going to be equal. So keep in mind that if that disappears on you, I'm doing a half to 1 second pause so that those show up in the work area. And once we set that to equal, now if one grows, the other one grows with it. All right, so what are our dimensions? This time I'm going to go to the right mouse button, and we're going to stay with Smart Dimensions. So picking the perimeter is a nice big target as opposed to trying to find that center point. And pretty much be anywhere on that circumference, and it's going to grab that geometry. So 1 inch, going from the line to the circle, 1 inch, and from the line to the circle, up. I messed that one up, so escape, escape. All right, that's going to put me back into the dimension. It basically deselects the two previous objects. 1.25. Oh, and then let's go ahead and I'm going to pick on the circle and do the 0.5. All right, so the circle being in blue means that this can move up and down. Even if I bring it back to horizontal, I'm not going to get that relation. Because the magenta is my selection, if you were to see blue or some other color, depending on version of the software, as long as that's highlighted, I can hold the control button down, select the next object, the center of my other circle, and when I make those horizontal, now I've made it so that wherever this one goes, if I were to change that dimension, 1.5, for instance, they will move together, and that is the value and the power of our parametric modeling. All right, so we're going to go over to features. I'm ready to extrude. I know that because on the status bar I have a fully defined sketch. I think all my dimensions are in there, working pretty good, and our dimension is 0.75. The last decision you need to make is, do you want it to extrude towards you or extrude away from you? And if we're looking down the road to putting this in an assembly, there are good reasons to pick one or the other. At this stage, it doesn't necessarily matter. All right, so when I save this, we're going to see where it goes. All right, so I created a cloud folder, my assignment one, and this is going to be, I called it part one, but I think I'm going to go over to P1-3 as my naming convention and name them what makes sense to you. I'm going to throw my initials on there, help me keep track of those, and we'll save this. All right, so we're going to go through our other three parts, and then we'll come back and take another look at these.